Okay. So we have a few problems. I think what I'm going to do is just go through the first few kind of together and then do the rest of them to break out into groups. I guess I got to connect my camera. Let's see if it works. There we go. Okay, so which ones does it ask? 3 and 5. So 3 says to solve a system of linear equations in 2 variables. How many equations do you usually need?
Well, at least 2, I'd say.
Yeah, typically you need 2. And in general, like if you have 3 variables, how many equations are you going to need?
I mean, these we
Like
can just
4.
answer, right? Like, I don't know how we're gonna show work for this.
Yeah, this is
Oh,
just
yeah.
more.
Yeah.
This is just more like a yes or no or something. I think.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
It's not like not a lot of work for 3 and 5.
Yeah.
But I just like it gets us talking about it at least, right? And so in general, as a generality, you're probably going to need at least as many equations as you have variables, right? And I think I said that a few times in the notes. If a system of linear equations has infinitely many solutions, are the equations dependent or independent? This is going back to that vocabulary.
They're dependent, right?
Yeah, so if it's infinitely many, and this is going back to like, do we have 2 separate lines, right? Do we have like, these would be independent lines versus like it's the same thing over itself. And so they were both consistent, but this one was what? Consistent independent lines, and this was consistent dependent. Okay. Number 7, they're giving us 2 points. So how do you know if something is a solution?
You plug it into the equation.
Okay. So if we plug the first one into the equation, we're doing what? 0 plus 2 minus a minus 2 then equal to 4.
Mm-hmm.
That one works. Is that a solution to the system of equations? I know it's probably I'm being annoying with my questions.
No, we got to check all 3 of them.
No, you're gonna check all of them. So if we do a negative 0, because it really makes a difference, right? But it's a minus 0. What? Plus 2 plus 2 equals 2. Yeah. Plus 2
No,
plus,
it's plus. The last part of it is plus -2, so it's actually -2.
plus negative
That
2.
would be 0. So that's already proving it's not a solution.
Okay. And so I'm going to ask another annoying question, probably. You're checking this point, right? So we're checking 2 different things. I hope I didn't like confuse anybody on that, right? They're asking actually 2 different things here. We want to check this first point, and then we want to check that other point. So we're checking this first point. It doesn't work here. What are you going to do now? Do I plug it into this one?
Well, I mean, there's no reason to.
Yeah, I
I would
wouldn't.
say.
Like, if you're on a test, definitely don't waste your time, right? If it's not working on one of them, we don't really need to go checking into everything, right? Okay, so if it's not working there, then you can tell me right away this is what? Not a solution? That's not a solution. What about the other one?
I would say it is.
Probably
Looks
is
like it
because
works in all 3.
well, it's the power of deduction and right? If you're probably going to give me one that is not. So you could Probably kind of guess they're probably going to give you one that's a solution, but we need to check it. So plug it in. What is that? -1 plus 3 minus a -2 equals 4.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that gives us what, -1, and this is like 3 plus 2 is what, +5. I think that gives, that checks. 4 equals 4. The next one looks like what? Minus a -1, minus the -1, plus 3, plus a -2. And we want to see if this is equal to what? 2. So this is what? 1 plus 3 minus 2. Is that equal to 2?
Mm-hmm.
4 minus 2. I think that's it. And am I done yet? Are we there yet?
Yeah,
No.
one more.
Not quite, no. Oh man. I sound just like my parents did when I asked them that. Okay, so this is what? -1 plus 3 plus a -2. Is that equal to 0? That's the last thing we're checking. That's the third equation there. We have 3 variables, we have 3 equations, we have 3 numbers to plug in. So -1 plus 3 is 2 minus 2. Is this giving me the 0 I want?
Yes.
Okay. So we did all that work. All that work was to show that this thing is a solution. Come on here. Let's see. Okay. Questions about this problem? I think this is like, it's going forward with what we know about solutions, right? We knew that like solutions with 2 variables look like an ordered pair. Solutions with 3 variables look like a ordered triple. And so now we have things that look like x, comma, y, comma, z. So I guess I could have wrote my variables over here that I'm subbing in, but I'm plugging these into x, comma, y, comma, z. That's the form that we're doing. Hoping this ain't the first time you've seen that. Right? Okay. So let's just do all these right quick. We want to do the dimensions of the matrix. So to do the dimensions, do y'all know what RC Cola is, or is that just like a dead reference now?
I drink RC Cola.
Oh, so I got one RC fan. Like I said it like a few years ago, and they just looked at me like dead in the eye, like they had no clue what I was talking about. I was just like, okay. I know it's like probably less popular than like Coke and Pepsi, but
How about Mr. Pibb? Nobody's
At
had.
the movie theater.
you know it's like Pib Extra now, ain't it? That's what they go by.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so we're doing rows by columns. So if you think about rows, that's like you're at a movie theater. Columns are like the Coliseum columns holding it up. So like, what is this? How many rows does this thing have? Number 1, we're doing all of them. Let's just do them.
1.
Rows?
None, I guess.
3. Yes, 3.
3, okay. This one, ooh, I can't even write the number now. 3 by
1.
how many columns? I think I spoke over someone.
1.
1, that's it. That's 3 by 1. So fair warning. I am like really horrible at this. I will mix these up pretty easily. So how many rows is this?
2.
And it's 2 by
3.
3. This one is a
2.
2 by 2. I don't think we talk about this later, but if it's the same dimensions, we call those square matrices, right? It creates a sort of square. It's the same dimensions. This one,
One,
1,
1 by
Two.
2. This one is
3 by 3. No, by 10.
2. Okay. And then the last one, I believe this is what, 3 by 4? Right.
So we don't do anything else in that?
No, that's it. That's why I wanted to do them all, because it's pretty quick.
Oh.
And it gives you a pretty good idea of like how the dimensions look, right? Okay. Five. Did we do that? 3, 5, 7? Oh, never mind. I'm looking at the wrong one now. We're way ahead of that. We did 5, but now we need to do 25. Okay. Augmented matrix is in row echelon form and represents a linear system. Solve the system using backward substitution if possible. Write the system as either an ordered pair or an ordered triple. So right off the bat, what is your solution probably going to look like to this thing? Is it going to be a pair or a triple?
triple.
Yeah, it should be a triple. Okay. Do I want to break off for this one yet? 41, 45, and 51 are all the ones that really we need to do as a group. I need to let y'all have a few minutes. I think I'm gonna give y'all just like a few minutes to solve this thing. I don't even think I'm gonna break y'all off into groups for this one quite yet.
Yeah, that one, it's already really solved, right? They just need to,
Yeah, they just need to write it back as an equation.
right.
And so I'm gonna give y'all just a few minutes, probably up until the end of the 9:20 or so. I don't know. So go back, write the equation that this thing is. So you should be able to shift like from an equation and put those equations or systems of equations into a matrix. And then you should be able to take that matrix and plug it back and make an equation out of that guy. Yeah. And we talked about it. This is row echelon form. Who do I want to go with? Is Gabby around?
Yes.
Did you get the first equation off of that?
Kinda. What I did was that I did a 3x. Oh,
That
I
should be like your
did.
x. This should be like your x. This should be your y. This should be your z. This little
It's
bar is kind of like your equal sign, right? And then this is just a constant over here.
Oh, so it's that way. Never mind.
So
So it's one. So the x plus 1y plus minus 1z equals 4.
that's it.
You don't do anything else?
No, that's it. That's the first equation we're getting off of there.
So do you do that for like the other ones?
Yeah, so we're gonna do the next one. So what does the next one say?
Is it an x
Which one is this?
with the 1?
Yeah, the one represents the what?
Oh, so we're not doing x. Okay. So it's 1y
Uh-huh.
plus minus 1z equals 2. 2, yeah.
That's it. And the last thing says what?
1z equals 1.
Yeah, so 1z equals 1. That's it. Okay. Nah, who do I want to pick on next? Elliot just woke up and came in, I think. Chelsea?
Yeah, I'm here.
So I'm looking for like this ordered triple XYZ, right? I know that Z is 1, so I got a number for Z. How do I get a number for Y?
We can plug it in to z equals 1.
So I'm looking for those two things. I know that thing is 1. So how am I getting this Y? You're plugging in Z equals 1 into where? I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah, sorry, into the second equation.
Into this equation. Yeah, that's it. So Y minus what? 1 equals 2? So Y is?
3.
That's it. And the last thing, we want to solve for X. And so we know that X, what? Plus Y minus Z is equal to 4. And I think I'll probably pick on enough people for a second. So X plus Y minus Z. So we can do the same sort of thing with this, right? We want to solve for X. So basically there's only one other equation to plug in there. So X plus 3, what, minus 1 equals what, 4. I think this is giving me what, X plus 2 is equal to 4. So my X should be what, 2? I don't know if that was a stretch or like a cheering you got it correct or something for a second there. All right, did we get this, hopefully? Are we understanding how to back solve these sorts of things? How to go from the matrix to the equation? We solve like one variable at a time, right? Okay, so I think, pretty sure, it's probably time to split up into groups in just a second. Okay, so we got 3 problems here. Can I do them all at once? Not quite. We got 41, 45, and 51. So I want to break up into groups. Let's see.
I don't know where these get started. They're all together. Like 41. I don't even know what it is.
Yeah, let's look right here. I had the same issue with 51. I was like, had to look up in the book, and I had to look up the solution. If I'm being honest, I'm like, what are they doing there? But yeah, it should be those three in 51.
Yeah, I did. Sorry, guys. I didn't cut and paste very well on this one.
No, I mean the book is really. I don't think it's
I
you. I
know.
think it's the book on this
Yeah,
one.
it is. Well,
Just
it's
being
the first.
honest,
It's
the
book,
book
but
does not
also
separate it very well.
yeah, they're not. But sorry about that.
It should be three equations that they're giving you there.
Yeah. But it's really hard to tell which three even. It's like
Yeah,
yeah, but I can.
those
It
three.
is. It is the first three. Yeah.
Those three.
Yeah.
Okay.
These. Yeah. They were just bad in the book.
So I think I'm going to break it off for a few minutes. Let's see. Automatically. And we will work on these three problems. They will take you a few minutes. And there are multiple ways to do them. So I don't know what to tell you, but I feel like y'all should probably get some sort of way to like start showing each other your work with the mirror or something, because these it's gonna be really hard to like vocalize these sorts of things. I feel like.
And let me tell y'all something that I myself do all the time. So the number one thing you should check, double check, triple check that you've written the problem down correctly. Because otherwise, I mean, that's if you start off with the bad number, you're gonna it never will work. So just make sure you copied that problem down right.
Yeah, I think we should go what, 41 and 45. If I do 20 minutes on this, that's pretty. Well, let's do. Yeah, let's do 25. So let's do 41 and 45, and then I think we'll come back together, and then we'll do that last one, and then I'll decide whether I want to do groups again or not. That's my plan. Let's go for it. Get out of here. Are you sharing things? Is this happening?
I'm looking at it. Oh, well, I was just gonna put down, I think that the 41 is a triple. Cause it has X, Y, Z. So that's triple.
Yeah, all these next three should all be triple.
Yeah.
They all have three variables.
So I'm total blank right now.
So the first thing is to write that as a matrix.
Is switching the order of these from top to the bottom gonna do anything?
No, you can switch the order.
So like going from top to bottom, if you were to switch it around, it wouldn't make any difference.
No, it shouldn't.
Cause I remember we have to line it up a certain way with the zeros on the side. Or something, make it easier. I don't think I really see any zeros here though. Everything is a 1, at least.
Yeah, there shouldn't be any zeros in there.
I'm just gonna put,
Yeah, there's a way. Wait. Did that come up? I don't know what that did. I didn't want to eat in there. Convert to a.
Okay. All right, so like if I start my table, like my
Did that?
matrix, I guess I'd put like
I don't know what that
1,
did.
1,
Do you,
negative
do you see a message anywhere?
1. Huh?
Do you see a message anywhere? Because it says broadcast a message, and I just hit it, but I don't know if it's doing it or not. I don't see it anywhere.
I mean, I can see your screen.
Yeah, I don't see that. I don't see broadcast.
You can see my screen. What?
Okay, I
Yeah,
stopped
I
sharing
only
mine.
saw your screen for like a split second, then you switched to back right now. It was like on like something like blank with some numbers.
Yeah, I thought that was
I can
Michael's
see
screen.
I can see yours now.
I thought you were sharing your screen, is what I thought.
Well, I was just doing a whiteboard, but I turned it off.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
you do like an augmented matrix to start it,
Mm.
right?
Yeah, so you do the matrix, and then like the process is to get the 1 in the upper left-hand corner, and then get the zeros below it. And then you move over, you get the 1 and get the zeros below it.
Okay. Well, I don't think there's any zeros in this one.
Okay, so you have to do some operations to get the zeros.
Okay. Hmm. Let's see here. Can the equals on the augmented have variables in it, or does it just be constants? Constants.
The equals? No, so the equals, it should always be like constants right over there, right? It should be like your x, your y's, and your z's.
Okay. So you couldn't move them to the other side.
You shouldn't. Because we're using the space. We're using the space to represent the x's, right? And so everything underneath this is going to be an x. Everything underneath this will be a y. Everything underneath that's going to be a z. And everything over here will be a constant, right? And so in order to drop the variables, you have to keep that spacing.
So I think I could, like, if we wanted to start with the x's, I guess I could get rid of the x's by just doing minus x. Or maybe plus x on all 3 of them, which would drop one of the x's. Or I
So
could do minus x and I could drop 2 of the x's. And then one of them would become negative 2x. So I get rid of some of the x's that way.
Okay, so if we put this in an augmented matrix, it should be what? 1, 1, minus 1, 3?
Yes.
Should look something like that, right? And so I'm starting out here. I have the 1 in the upper left-hand corner. So now I'm looking at this thing right here. I want to make this 0.
Right, so it's plus x. Plus 1. to make it 0.
So in order to make the 0, I have to start adding rows. So if I want to add rows, this is like a -1. What am I going to add to -1 to make it 0? And I know it's a stupid question, right? I'm going to have to add 1. So if this is already 1, all I'm doing is I'm adding these 2 rows.
Mm-hmm.
So the first row is going to stay the same. But I want a 0 below that thing. And so if I add those 2 rows, I'm going to get a 0 there. What am I going to get in this next space?
A -1.
Yeah, that's it.
Why does the first row still stay there?
We're not changing it. It's already what we want it to be. It's a 1 already there.
Okay.
We want to change this next one to a 0. And so what are we doing?
Yeah. So, I mean, the other one would be 0 also.
And then this one would be,
And if you add the constants, I guess you're going to end up with like -2.
oh yeah, that's it. And so this is the
Okay.
next step.
So even though you added them together, the first row maintains all of its values.
Yes, we're replacing that with just the row 2.
Yeah, see, that's what throws me off because, I mean, I'm used to in math, like numbers, it's like matter, it's like atoms or something. Like it can only be in one place at one time. But it's like it's in 2 places at once or something like that. So that throws me off.
So you are accounting for each one of these at least once, right? Is what's sort of happening. When we add these like 2 equations, row 1 is being accounted for here. Row 2 is still being accounted for here. We haven't really changed like that property is still being accounted for. I don't know if that helps or makes it more confusing, but um and in general, when you get your 1, this 1 or this equation is going to be sort of like your units is the way you can kind of think about it. So now we're looking at this thing. We have a 1 in the upper left hand corner. We have a 0 below it. And the next thing we want to do is turn this thing, right? So what am I going to add to that to make it 0?
If it's the x, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it has to be -1, but there's no -1s there.
Okay. So we want to make this a -1. Who is unassigned? Get in here somewhere. Assign 2. You're going to 4. Sorry. Okay. One minus 1. Yeah, that's it. So we want to do 1, and we want to subtract 1, but this is positive. So what do we have to multiply this thing by?
Let's see here. -1.
Yeah, that's it. So we multiply that first row by -1, and we're going to add it to, I believe, row 3 is the thing that we're adding it to. 1, 2.
And then would the first row change, or we're still gonna keep it like that, the way it
So the
is?
first row is still there, still staying the same.
That's weird.
The second row should still stay the same at this point. It's got that 0 there. You get these other numbers?
Okay, so it's 0, and then another 0,
Mm-hmm.
and a 2,
Mm-hmm. And
and 3.
yeah, that's it. That's it. That's it.
I'm gonna put R1.
Okay, where's she at? She was in group 2, 3. What are they doing? Not joining? Get out of here. Okay. And I think we're almost there, right? We get 1s, we get 0s. Now look at this diagonal. This thing is what? A -1? So how do we make that positive 1? And we basically have like 2 sort of tools, right? We can multiply the entire row by a number, or we can like start adding rows. I would go with the multiplication on this one, if I'm being honest. What can we multiply by 1 to make it positive 1? And sorry, I asked that loud.
Yeah, -1.
Yeah, so multiply this by -1. I think that'll get your 1 and your 0 there. And then the next thing is we got to do what with this line? If we want to make this 1, we're going to have to
Divide by 2.
yeah, that's the next 2 things. Yeah. So I think I'm going to leave y'all with that for a minute and make sure this other group gets some attention. Is she going? She's going around. Okay. Let's see. Hey, what's up?
Hello.
Did Miss Watson come by? I think Miss Watson was in this group earlier, huh?
Yeah, she was. She was going over some of the problems and explaining, elaborating on some stuff that we didn't get.
Okay. Did y'all do 41 or 45?
Yes.
On 41.
On 41?
Yeah.
How far did you get?
Oh, we worked on 41 with Miss Watson. So
Okay. So you have a pretty good idea of like how this process is going, hopefully.
yeah,
Get the 1 and get the 0s below it is this sort of approach, right?
yeah. It's just a lot of writing.
It is a lot of writing, but I don't know what to tell you on that. It is a lot of writing. But it's a lot of writing the same thing over and over again sometimes. So
Not too bad.
yeah, they're not hard to get right, but they're really easy to mess up is the way I kind of look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and once you mess up somewhere, everything subsequent is kind of messed up. Okay. Where'd she go? She's in what? 4 now? I think I'm going to jump to 3, make sure they know what they're doing. Hello.
Hi.
Hey. Do y'all know what y'all are doing?
Yeah, we just had Miss Watson was just in here, and I just asked her if we were supposed to get started on 45 or not. So that's what we're doing now.
Okay. Yeah, it's a good deal. Okay. What'd y'all get for 41?
I got 2.52 and 1.5.
1 point. Figure out because I'm not even getting what they're getting in the book.
I've only done the first step and I'm stuck. I don't know what to do.
Well, that's weird. Apparently the key is off in the book. Okay. Did anybody look at the book key by any chance? Just wondering.
I haven't looked at that.
I
yet.
didn't look at it. No.
Did y'all know there's a book key?
Yes.
Like in the back,
I
the
know-
answer, the odd number answers?
Yeah, I did not get the right answer on 41. Then I'm trying to figure out where I went wrong.
This one's correct. Nope. Okay. Did you get like the final matrix kind of thing?
Yeah, I got there, but the numbers once I back solve from that are wrong. So I think I messed up a step somewhere.
So Y and Z are already solved for, right? That's what I'm seeing. x, what, plus 2? Or if you want to do minus 3/2, but that's kind of ugly.
Right. Here, hold on. Let me.
I should give you 2.5, right?
That's the thing is I didn't. Can you move up one step?
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I hit that one right.
So we're multiplying that row 2 by -1.
Right.
1,
So
2.
I end up with the 0, -1, 0, 0, 0, 2. And
The final row you're going to divide by 2.
okay. Okay, I see.
You don't have to. You can just go like 2z equals 3, and you can still find z. It's easier to make it a 1z, and plus you get to see say 1z. It's a cute little 1z. Yeah, we're gonna leave it a minute. I think I need to go through this anyway, probably with people.
Yeah, I see where I went wrong. I wrote one of my answers on one of the parts wrong.
Okay. So I think most people made a good portion, at least a good attempt at 41. And so we're looking at 41. This should have been the augmented matrix that you came up with. And so the process of this thing to do the Gauss-Jordan elimination is to get the 1 up here and then to get the zeros below it. And then we get the 1 and we get the zeros below it. And so it's always get the 1 and get the zeros below it. And so the first thing you want to do is you have your 1. You want to get a 0 below it. So the first thing I did was I added row 1 and row 2. It should give you that thing right there. So now we have a 1. We have a 0 below that. We want to get a 0 right here. So in order to get a 0 right here, I'm thinking, what do I have to add to 1 to make it 0? Have to add a -1, so I have to do a -1 times row 1 and add that to row 3. I got my 1, I got my zeros.
Just real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt. Could you explain how you got row 3 again, please?
Okay, so I'm doing -1 times this row 1, and then I'm going to add it to row 3. So
Okay.
-1 times 1 is going to give me -1 plus 1 will give me the 0. -1 plus 1 will give me a 0. Minus to minus, this is +1. +1 will give me the 2. -3 plus 6 will give me 3.
Ah.
I can also write it out, maybe.
Oh,
If I do
no.
minus row 1,
Yeah, could you please?
that looks like -1, -1, +1, -3.
Right.
And then my row 3 look like 1, 1, 1, and 6. And so I'm just adding these things down.
Okay, now it makes sense.
Yeah, so if you have to like write these middle steps out, like that's fine. I'm not gonna fault y'all for
Okay.
that.
Appreciate it.
So how do you guys set?
What was that?
How do you guys set in the in the thingy that you just did?
This thing?
Yeah.
This is the -1 times this entire row up here. So it's a -1, -1, +1, -3. And then I'm going to add that to row 3, which is this one. 1, 1, 1, 1, 6.
Okay.
And so when I do this, I'm getting this third row right here.
I have a question.
Yes.
How do you know which rows to like add with?
So in general, like we're going to get the 1 up here.
Mm-hmm.
And so after we get the 1, we kind of act like this. Well, let's do it up here. After we get the 1 up here in the upper left or whatever, to get the zeros below it, you treat this sort of like it's a unit, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a 1. We can multiply it by anything. So it's kind of, this is a bad problem to explain that on maybe because it's all ones. But like if it was any other number here, if this was a -3, we would multiply row 1 by 3, right?
Gotcha.
And then we would add it to this. And so whatever number's here, you're going to kind of multiply the opposite by this thing, right? And so we're multiplying the opposite of a -1 is a +1, right?
Yeah.
And so +1 by row 1, and we're going to add it to the row 2 to take place of row 2.
Okay.
And so now we're doing the same thing with row 3. The additive opposite of 1 is going to be a -1. So I'm multiplying -1 by 1 to add to 1 to get to this 0.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, they could have picked some other numbers other than 1, but I don't know. We'll get some more examples with things that aren't 1. So we have this thing. I have the 1. I'm looking for the 1. I go uppermost left corner. I go to the 1 here. I go to the zeros below it. Now I'm looking at that diagonal. I want to get a 1 over here. And so I think I did these all in one step, actually. So my first row is going to stay the same. But if I want to get this +1, what do I have to do?
Multiply it by a -1.
Yeah, I got to multiply everything by a -1. So the -1 becomes what? +1. That -2 is going to become a +2. And if I do that, I have the 1, I have the zeros. The next thing I want to do is convert that 2 and that 3. So I don't want a 2 and a 3 there. I want to make this 1. I want to get a 1 in this diagonal. So what do I have to do? And you can probably already see it. I'm going to divide everything here by 2. So I did this kind of like 2 steps at once. But the last part should be to divide this by 2.
Matt, do you, okay, so, and I've talked with different people that do care differently. If they don't get all the ones, like if they had, if they get it down to there's a 1, a 0, and then the 0 in the third column, I mean the second column, third row, they can back solve from there. Do you want them to have all those ones, or do you care if they can stop and back solve from?
So if they're doing row echelon form, I want the 1s here and I want the zeros below it.
Okay,
right?
okay, all right. So
I'm not
that's
sure.
fine with me. I just, I usually let them stop, like if once they have that first column and that last 0. But Okay, but we'll make sure they do the ones in the.
And that's mainly, if I'm being honest, it's mainly just for this section, right?
Yeah, yeah.
By the next section, like there's, you should be able to get things done fairly quickly. I don't know.
Okay.
So if you didn't do the 2 steps at one time, what would it look like for?
Okay, so I'm gonna do this. Let me back up. I'll do it like a little slower, I guess. We're at this step. So I'm just gonna do this line right here. I want to multiply everything here by a -1. So if I do that, I'm gonna get 2. So my third line is staying the same. Just that second line is gonna change, right? Can you see both of these? Zoom out. Maybe I can get a little bit on there. Here we go. And I did that by going -1 times that second row, right? Does that make sense, hopefully?
Yes.
Can you pick like any number that you want?
So we want to make this thing a +1. So what do we multiply this by to make this positive?
Another negative, so -1.
Yes. Yeah, and we want to keep it 1, so make it a 1 that you multiply it by. So if we multiply it by a -1, it will make that a +1. It'll make that a +2. And we get the 1s, we get the 0s below it, right? We get the 1, we get the 0 below it. We're going down that diagonal. The next thing we want to do is get the 1 right here. So I'm looking here, what do I multiply by 2 to get to 1? Yeah, so I have to half this third row. So if I half the third row, my first and second row aren't going to change at all. This row, 0 divided by 2 is still just going to be 0. Half of 2 is going to be 1. Half of 3 is going to be 3 halves. I'm getting sloppy and not closing off my matrix, but there it is.
So would you want us to keep them fractions and not decimals?
With halves, you can totally do decimals. If you have like thirds or something like that, you want to do fractions because fractions are more accurate.
Okay.
Yeah. Because like a third is like 0.3 feeding, right? And so usually people will like start to round things, and if you start to round things, we get off on accuracy. Okay. Oh, we're not done here yet. I gotta go back and I gotta write my equations. So this top equation looks like what? X plus y minus z is equal to 3. What does this next thing give me?
Y equals 2.
Yep, y equals 2. And then this next one gives me what? Z is 3 halves. So we're almost there. We just have to plug these things in and solve for x, right? So x plus 2 minus 3 halves is equal to 3. We got to do some like fractions. If you want to do decimals on this one, that's probably even easier to do, right? This is x plus 2 minus 1.5 is going to give you x minus 1/2. So we should be able to solve these things by now. I'm not going to spend a lot of time trying to do fractions and stuff right now. Y'all should know how to do fractions, and if you don't, I don't know what to tell you. But you can use a calculator, right? So that shouldn't even be too much of an excuse to not do these. So let's do these. My 5/2 are 2.5. My 2 is my y, and my z is 3/2. Is that what you are getting? Hopefully. Okay. Did y'all start on 45? A few people did. All right, so your matrix on 45. 1, 1, 1, 6. -2, -2. -7. 1, 3. -2. 3. So this is 45. So I think if we just like walk through it together is probably the best thing. Walk through 45 and 51. So the process is to get the 1 and then to get the zeros. So I got my 1. So where am I going next? What's the next operation?
Get a 0 in the second row.
Yeah, we want to get 0 right here. So how do we get 0 there? We want to add something to -2 to make it 0.
Need a +2.
We need a +2. So we need a +2. So we get that +2 by multiplying this entire thing by 2. So if we do 2 times what? Row 1, add that to row 2. Did anybody get this far?
That's as far as I got.
Okay. Did anybody get these numbers for 2 times row 1 plus row 2?
Oh. Yeah.
So I guess I can write out the numbers. We're going to do what? 2, 2, 2, 12. And we're going to add that to row 2, which is -2, -2, 3, -2, -2. So if you have to write out these numbers, do yourself a solid, write out the numbers. It's fine.
Oh.
But what's this
Yep.
first thing?
0, 0, 1, and then 5.
What is this the third number?
1.
And is that right?
I think.
2 times row 1. Am I writing down? I got my numbers, my signs correct. I think it should be 2 plus 3, right?
Was that a negative or a positive? Oh yeah, that was a positive. Okay, so that would be 4 then.
5.
What? 2 and 3 is.
Oh, 2 plus 3. Yeah, that's 5.
Yeah, it should be 5. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, I was off on that one.
Okay. So, what do I want to do next? I have this as my matrix. I'm looking at this thing.
I multiply row 1 by -1, and then I add it to row 3.
Okay, yeah, so I got my 1 here, I got my 0 here. The next thing I want to do is get my 0 here. So I'm using this kind of like my units, right? So I want to add something to 1. That's going to make it 0. The thing that I can add to 1 to make it 0 is a -1. And so I want to do -1. I want to multiply that by my first row, and I want to add it to my third row. So 1, 1, 1, 6 is going to stay the same. This is 0, 0, 5, 5. Now I'm doing this operation. So if you have to write it, -1, -1, -1, -6. And I'm adding that to it. 1, 3, -2, 3. So as you said, this thing should be 0. What do I got next? 3 minus 1. I have -2 and a -1. And I have a -6 and a -3. And there are a few different ways to solve this. But I got a 1 here. I have a 0 here. I have a 0 here. I want to get a 1 there, but that's not going to happen too easily. So what can I do? And I haven't done this yet. I don't think I've done it yet.
Would we switch row 2 and 3?
Yeah, that's what I would do. I'd swap these 2 rows. And then, like, it's pretty leading, right? Like, this one is almost solved for our last variable right here. It would make life a lot easier if you just swap those 2. There might be another way to do it, but just looking at it, it looks like that's probably the easiest way. So 0, 2 minus 3, minus 3, 0, 0, 0, 5, 5. Okay. So I got my 1, I got my 0s below it. I need to get my 1 right there. How do I get a 1 right there?
Divide by 2.
Divide by 2. So everything in that row gets divided by 2. 2 gets divided by 2. It's going to be 1. I divide 3 by 2. It's going to be -3/2. Divide 3 by 2. It's going to be -3/2. And I think there might be like one last step in this thing. All right, so you can get them both on there. I got my 1, I got my 0s, I got my 1, I got my 0s. The last thing.
I'm gonna start substituting. Z equals 5.
What kind of Z? You can do that. You can. I guess you can start back substituting at this point. I was going to go ahead and get the 1 here, if I was being honest.
Mm-hmm.
But you will get the same solution either way you do it. If we want to make this 1, we have to divide everything by 5. So whether you do what, 5z equals 5, or you do 1z equals 1, you should be getting a z equals 1 out of that same thing somehow, right? And what does it say? What else do we got? We have something that looks like x plus y plus z equals 6. And the other thing looks like what? Y minus 3 half Z
Yeah.
equals what? Minus 3 halves.
Mm-hmm.
So typically, and I don't know if you noticed it, but usually the way you solve these things is actually kind of backwards from the way they're listed here, right? So Z equals 1, that's like your first variable you're going to find. The next one is kind of like this line right here. If we plug in what? 1Z. I think we're getting Y equals 0 here, right? Y minus 3 halves.
3. It's 3.
Where? For Y?
Yeah. Isn't that what Y is?
You get Y minus
Oh,
3 halves equals minus 3
Yeah.
halves.
Yeah. That it was the negative. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to add it over. When you add it, it should be
It's
0.
0. Okay.
And we're almost there. Almost. We have one last thing to solve for. X plus 0 plus 1 is going to be 6. So what is this? X plus 1 equals 6. I believe X is 5. So putting it all together, 5, 0, 1 is the point that we're talking about. And I think technically it is like class time. It is 10:20. So if you got to get going, I guess you can get going. But we have one more problem to go through. I'm going to finish that last problem.
And I will post the solutions if you need to look and under the solutions thing. So
Did that. Where are we at? 51. Okay, so 51. I feel like this one might be easier than the previous two, but I might be lying.
it is. No, it is.
Yeah, it's not big numbers or fractions, I don't think.
It's weird.
Here's 1, here's minus 1, here's 1, put our bar, put our 1. We're writing a matrix off of these equations. Oh, it's a little bit trickier because they throw in some zeros. Okay.
I guess.
1, 2.
It actually makes it easier though, you know.
Minus 1, 2. Yeah, it does. What am I putting in this last line? Someone tell me this last line.
0, 1, -1, and then 0.
Yep. Okay. So what's my goal? What am I going for first?
I'd say multiply row 1 by -1 and then add it to row 2.
Yeah, I'm trying to make this thing 0, and I think you just told me how to do it. We're going to go minus 1 by row 1, minus 1 by my row 1, and I'm going to add that to row 2. So I have 1, minus 1. Row 1 is staying the same. This is where I want to do minus this. Minus 1 plus 1 is going to give me 0. Minus 1 is going to give me positive 1. Plus 2 is going to give me 3. Minus 1 is going to give me what? Minus 2. Minus 1 minus 2 is going to give me minus 3. 0, 1, minus 1, 0. Okay.
I think 2 is positive, right?
Which one? This one?
Yeah, so if you -1 plus 2 would be 1, right?
So it's a -1 plus a -1.
I mean on the right, the constant.
The constant?
Yeah. Because it would be -1
I
plus 2.
messed that up, didn't I? Minus 1 plus 2. This should be what, a positive 1?
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
I think because of that.
Good call. And this is another complaint I will make on your behalf. Like if you mess something up really early, like I did just here, it's gonna mess up everything after that too. So I know like it's a point of contention that you could totally make, and I will be on your team on that one. Like they are annoying in that way. I think we're almost done with this thing too, huh? Not much longer. We got the 1, we got the 0. What'd y'all do next? There's a few different ways you can do this one.
Turn the 3 into a 1.
Okay, so if we turn this 3 into a 1, how do we do that? We got to what? Multiply by?
Or divide by 3.
Yeah, divide by 3 and multiply by a third. 1 minus 2/3 and what? 1/3? 0, 1 minus 1, 0. Okay. What did y'all do next? There's, like I said, there's a few ways to do these.
I guess add row 1 to row 3 to get rid of the 1.
Ah, okay. So if you add row 1 to row 3, it will get rid of this one.
Mm-hmm.
If we do that, it's going to end up putting a 1 back into this spot.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But I think it might actually work for this problem. Let's see it. Because that's going to make that 0, that's going to make that 0, and that's going to make that, what, 1? So I think that would actually work faster for this. But then it's not in row echelon form, so it depends, like, how you want to go about this, right? If you wanted to do it Gauss-Jordan style, right? And I think this is probably a better way to do it. I'd be honest, I think Michael's way is better than probably doing Gauss-Jordan. We would have to take a minus row 2 and add it to row 3. Zero, 1, minus 2/3, 1/3. I think this one was correct. Here's the solution. Okay. This would be 0. This would be 0. This would be what? 2/3 plus 1. I think gives me a third. Minus 1/3, I believe. And then this one is a minus 1/3. So like this is, I think this is like one of those things, depending on how the problem is structured, there might be easier or like harder ways to go about it. But if we're looking at this, if this is minus 1/3, this is minus 1/3, we're going to divide both of those things by the same number. I don't know how to, how to do that any quicker. But we're going to divide both of those things by what? A minus 1/3? And you should get something like this. This last one is giving me z equals 1. The second to last is giving me y minus 2/3. Z equals 1/3. So y minus 2/3 equals 1/3. So y is 1. And the last thing says what? X minus y plus z equals 1. So x minus 1 plus 1 equals 1. X is equal to 1 as well. If we want to put these things all together, x is 1, y is 1, z is 1. This is the point that looks like 1, 1, 1. Did you try solving it the other way, Michael?
No, I kind of gave up on it. Yours is better.
No, I think your way was good. Your way was good. Look, you're like right there. See, x is 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you got to go plug it back in here. Yeah, it's not as pretty. Yeah, yep. Okay. Yep. And so, yeah, I think that brings up a good point, though, right? So, like, when we're doing Gauss-Jordan, as soon as we get the 1 here, we really don't want to be messing around with, like, or once we get the 1 and the zeros below it, right? We really don't want to be messing around with this line anymore. It's going to add that 1 back over into this spot. I don't know. I've done this so many times. I feel like you just kind of start doing things without realizing you're doing them. You know. Are there any questions over anything? Did y'all need to see any of this?
So we're working with a lot of ones and stuff, but what happens when like row 1, the x value is like 2, 3, 4, and you're trying to get rid of a 1?
Oh, okay, so let me pull up some numbers too. So we had a matrix like this, and we're trying to do Gauss-Jordan. Is that what you're saying?
Or let's say that the 5 would be a 1, just to make it
I should do a little line
simpler.
here too. So that the 5 is the 1?
Yeah.
Well, if the 5 is the 1, then you can just swap rows. Right?
So you would swap row 1 and row 2?
Yeah, exactly.
That's interesting.
So
Yeah,
I can
all this moving around numbers is just hard for me to remember the rules here.
But even if it wasn't a 1, if it was a 5, right? The first thing we would do is do what? 1/5 by this entire row. So when we make things 1, we're typically just multiplying the entire row. I think that's typically how we do that. When we make things 0, we have to multiply and add.
Mm.
All right, I think I'm gonna hit record.